Hey guys, Jessica here. I am making a video about answering interview questions. Someone that watches my videos actually sent me some interview questions that they have already, and they're basically planning on how they can prepare for answering those questions during their actual interview. So I will just jump right into the questions that were sent to me, and I will basically provide context on what the interviewer is really trying to find out from your answer and what they're really asking. And then I'll attempt to provide an answer that I would give. Now, this type of job that they're applying to is out of my field, but aside from that, I should be able to answer them. So the first one is just about the actual job. Tell us some of the reasons why you decided to apply to the position. This one is an easy one, but I do feel like there are certain things that the interviewer is looking for. So some answers that I've heard that have not gone so well are, oh, I'm looking for a job. Or, something similarly very general. Well, I saw the position online. I just decided to apply because I thought it would be a good fit. These are pretty standard answers. I think what will set you apart is if you actually remember some of the things that were in the job description, and some things about the company that you're applying to. So for example, I decided to apply for this job because I saw that you were looking for someone skilled in sourcing and technical recruitment. Therefore, I decided to apply because I have great skills in sourcing and technical recruitment. I have over 5 years of experience with that. It's something that I'm really passionate about. And I also saw a lot of great information about the company. You guys are doing X, Y, and Z. That's why I was really excited and interested about the position. Something like that will get you to stand out from the other people that are given the normal, I saw the position, I needed a job, and I applied. The second one is, what are some of the experiences you have had in the past that increased your interest in becoming an electrical worker? And this one, I think you just need to give straightforward answers. Since you have the question here in front of you, you should just come prepared with some specific examples that you can give some details into that helped increase your interest into that specific job. And then the next one is just what knowledge you have about an electrical worker and what they do on the job. So definitely do some research about that and be ready to just talk about, I know electrical workers do X, Y, and Z. This is why I think I would be successful in that role and how I would be, fulfilled in that job. So definitely tie it back to how you would make a good fit for that job and the skills you have. Always tie it back, even though it's not directly asking you that. Those are some of the things that the interviewer will be looking for you to provide in your answer. Okay. So describe a time when you were missing something you needed to finish or for a project or a job. Okay, so I actually responded to this person with this question in a quick message here online. But really, what the interviewer is going to be looking for with this type of question is to figure out how you can kind of think on your feet, how creative you are, how you'll be able to approach creating solutions for problems. Again, describe a time when you were missing something you needed to finish a project or a job. So what they're actually looking for is for you to give a specific example where in order to complete a project, you were missing a resource. Maybe a person didn't show up for the job, or maybe they left the company. Maybe you just didn't have the right tools, or something of that along those lines. How are you able to be creative and still get the project done successfully, on time, on deadline, and of a good quality? So those are some of the things you'll want to mention in your example. Don't use an example where you missed the deadline or you finished a project but it was kind of half unfinished. It wasn't the best. Be sure to think about a really good example that you can talk about where maybe I have a project that I'm working on. I needed to have it done by within a week. I'm working with another colleague. The colleague leaves with half of the data, can't find the data. So I actually worked overtime to develop the data and figure out some of the missing pieces that person had taken with them. And I worked with different colleagues to learn about what information they had that I could fill in the gaps with, and ultimately finish the project on time and successfully, and received great accolades from my manager and team members. Something like that. I just made that up, but you definitely want to provide a real example. Don't make it up. Make sure that you're touching on those specific points. So what actually was the situation, what resource you were missing, and then how you successfully completed the project on time and of good quality. Tell us about a time when you had some work to do but you were not exactly sure how to do it. Again, this is another example of how you can basically work on your feet and solve problems. So the problem is you've got a task and you're not sure how to do it. Well, what are the steps that you actually take to complete the project? And what kind of initiative do you have? What kind of insight are you able to develop to, look at a task and figure out, okay, here's what I have to do in order to get it done. Here's what I have to work with. So let's just say, I'm given a task of creating a training site. I'm using HR example, sorry. I'm given a task of creating a training site with no direction. I don't know what the training site needs to look like. I don't know what needs to be on the training site. There's actually no deadline or anything like that. So what steps do I actually take to address it? Well, I move forward with talking with different team members, including my manager, getting a brainstorm together, and figuring out what would this training site look like, and get buy-in from other people. Next, I take all of the information that I gathered from my team and develop a timeline of what would need to get done to complete the project, who else would we need to work with outside of our immediate department and our team, and what kind of resources would be available, yada, 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 yada. So you're going to basically talk through the steps that you took, from a situation where you were not given those steps. Like, hey, your manager didn't come to you and say, hey, I need you to do this, this is how you do it. This is what I need it by, yada, yada. Talk about something where you took that initiative to do it. And I think this is the last one I'm going to answer for this video, just to keep it kind of short. Describe a time when you had an idea about a different way to make, build, or repair something. Okay, so this question really is asking about how creative you are, how innovative you are, what kind of creative or critical thinking you might be able to have. And this is a great opportunity to show how you're able to not only come up with a new idea that can be more efficient for the company, but also how you're actually able to share your idea, how you're able to get buy-in from others and get other people on your team with that idea, and also how you're able to talk about your idea and even collaborate with other people and make it better, and eventually, complete that. So actually take the idea and put it into fruition with it actually being a completed project or something that was done. In this case, you're making your building or you're repairing something. So let me see how many questions are on here. I think the other ones are pretty straightforward, I feel like you would get the gist of these type of questions. So just when you're looking at interview questions, especially in a case where you have some interview examples in front of you, sometimes these can be sent to you via HR, the recruiter. Other times you may need to do some research on a site like Glassdoor, where other people provide interview questions they've had before. I think it's always a good idea to prepare and just practice answering these type of questions. I would say just make sure that you're thinking about the question and thinking about what does the interviewer really want to know from my answer versus just hearing the question and talking immediately. I would recommend, you hearing the question. You can even say, that's a great question. So just to clarify what you're asking, you ask, restate the question to them, and make sure that you're understanding the question as well, because those are some pretty straightforward ones, I think, but some of the questions can be really long. And honestly, some of them are like 2 sentences, and you're like, wait, what did you ask me? And I totally get that. To make sure that you actually are hearing the question right and understanding the question, is super helpful to restate the question to the interviewer. Sometimes too, the interviewer may state the question in a weird way, so this gives them the opportunity to restate it if necessary. Sometimes I do this as a recruiter. I'll restate it, especially if I'm kind of like, okay, this question sounds a little weird. Let me restate it in a different way that the person will understand. So that's just my last minute tip when it comes to any interview question, but especially ones that really get you to think or provide some scenarios where you've done something in the past. So I'm just looking on here to see if there's anything else I want to mention. So there are some questions on here that are basically asking about teamwork. I think the main thing to take away from these type of questions, like for example, describe a team activity that you like to participate in, is to make sure that you're talking about your role within that team and how you interact with others, and also talk about how you were able to collaborate with other people, build relationships with other people. These are some of the things that companies are looking for. They want people that can actually build relationships with the people on their team, can work with them to provide solutions, and are not just used to and can only work on their own. So that's just my little tidbit about that. If you want me to talk more about or answer questions that are about teamwork, just let me know, and I'm happy to make a video about that. Yeah, I think that's it. I think those are the main questions that this person wanted me to answer and talk about. So overall, with these questions, just make sure you're thinking about what the interviewer is actually trying to find out from you. The last tip I would leave you with is definitely have some examples prepared in your head already, but don't try to memorize anything, or don't try to read from your notes. Recall the main things that you want to remember, and you can even have those notes there. But I do not recommend you just reading from your notes or trying to remember, because when you're in a stressful situation like an interview, it's really hard to remember things that you memorized. It really is, because you're just stressed, and different people handle stress differently. So my recommendation is to have your notes. Definitely have your resume in front of you. And yeah, so just make sure that you are prepared, but not so prepared or frigid in your answers that you have them literally right in front of you, or you're gonna freak out if you forget. They should be things that you can easily talk about and recall information about as well. And please don't try to use very old examples either, because it's going to be really hard for you to recall what happened. So if an interviewer asks you a follow-up question to an example that you provided, it's going to be hard. It can be hard for you to actually answer them and answer those follow-up questions that they have. So I think that's all I have for this video. Let me know if it's helpful. Definitely the person that requested this video, let me know if I answered your question and if this was helpful for you. And if not, either way, let me know. I'm happy to expand on anything. I just don't like to have super long videos. I hope you found this video valuable, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.